Welcome back, students. So in this lecture we'll try to understand about model based software architecture. So what do we mean by architecture? So architecture is not a documented information here. Architecture is complete information related to what are necessary in your project here. So what are tangible and intangible information related in your project which affects the potential cost and vision of the user. So that is going to be described by your architecture here. So architecture can be viewed in two different perspectives. One is in terms of your management and second is in terms of your technical perspective. So in view of management, what do we mean by architecture is what we will try to understand here. So in view of management or in terms of management, you can think architecture as base information which is related to the cost and the intercommunication between the projects here. So how this project is being developed and what is the cost associated related to that particular project is discussed about your management in your management perspective. So management perspective majorly lies between these three different categories or three different types. First is your architecture. As I already said, here this architecture is going to majorly focus on the baseline this architecture is mostly focusing on the cost associated with your project. What is the total cost associated in your project development? That is discussed within your architecture as your first point. Second is your architecture baseline. So this baseline is nothing but it is a combination of related information or it is a subset of all related information related to your project development. So here this is going to majorly focus on the vision of your project. What is the vision of your project? And what is the whether your project is going to satisfy your stakeholders requirement or not, and what are the different design facts that you are going to make use in your software development. So that these will form the architecture baseline here. So whenever you go with your architecture description, so this architecture description, it is going to discuss about what are the different components that you have used throughout your project development. So this majorly focuses on the different components of your project, the deployment related to your project and the implementation related to your project. So all these points will be discussed under your architecture description. So here in terms of management, it is only focusing on what are the different tools that you are using and what is the cost associated with your project and whether it is going to meet the expectations of the stakeholders or not. So this is the complete perspective of your project and how your intercommunication between different parts of your project is going on. So that is also a major point in your management perspective. So when we think about this architectures again, so we can see or we can relate your software architecture with the modern software process also. So they are both like related to each other in the following points. First, so they both majorly focuses on the milestones here, either your software architecture or your modern software development process. They both focus on your first point called as milestone. Whether so they both are working in relation with your milestone. So a deadline is provided to you, whether you are going to release your information as per the provided deadline. So that is focused on both of these points. Second, so they both are going to encapsulate the important communication between the different parts of your different parts of your project. So when I say different parts of your project, the different groups are going to encapsulate the information among themselves. So the intercommunication, that is being important communication related to the interproject communication groups, they are encapsulated related to your cost, related to your code, related to your modules, related to all the design information. It is maintained very secretly. So that is maintained by your software architecture, and it is also going to be maintained by your modern software development process. And next, if any of these two processes, if they are going to create an architecture which is poor in nature, or if the plan which is designed by you is not mature, if it is immature, then in both these cases the rate of failure of your project is more high. So in order to reduce the failure rate, or in order to enhance the success rate of your project, so both of them majorly focuses on good architecture and mature plan. So this is the major aim of your mature plan. So this is the point where either your software architecture or your modern software development process going to focus. So this is the focus in order to enhance or make your project a success. So this is how you can relate your both of your process developments here, either your architecture or your development process. So in technical perspective, so in your management perspective, it is majorly focusing on intercommunication. That is what we have already discussed. So in technical perspective, the software architecture, it is going to focus on different components of your project. It is going to focus on development of your project. It is also going to focus on the behavior of your project. It is going to focus on how the performance of your project. So complete performance related to your project. Complete performance report or the complete performance of your project is going to be discussed, or it is going to take into consideration when you think about your technical perspective. So your technical perspective can be viewed in by making use of 4 different views. First is your design. So design indicates what are different use cases you are using. What are the different use cases? What are the how your UMLs are designed. So what is that architecture you are supposed to follow? That is the main focus when you go with your design view. When you go with your process view, which process you are following in order to communicate among your different UML classes or different classes of your project. So that is the major focus on your process. When you go with your components discusses about the development of your project. So once you fix, like in your technical perspective, once you fix which process to follow, so what are the different components that are used in order to implement your project. So that is discussed, or that is taken care by your component view of your technical perspective of project development. And when you go with this deployment deals with the deployment of your project. So deployment of project states, I already said that it is going to be the way through which you are going to assess your project. You are going to deploy your project or install your project at the user end and identify what are the possible outcomes of that particular project, whether it has met all your requirements of the user or not. So that deployment related information is discussed under your project deployment view. So these are the 4 basic views related to your technical perspective, and these are the 3 different views related to your management perspective. Right. So in terms of your management or in terms of your technical perspective. So this is majorly focusing related to your cost, but your technical perspective is focusing related to your technical information. Say how we are going to justify your cost with your software. So this is the main aim of your technical perspective related to your software development. So here we already said what is this architecture baseline. So architecture baseline, it is nothing but it is a combination of subset of the information related to all the different sets of artifacts that are used in your project. So here your architecture baseline, it consists of 4 different parts again. As we already discussed, what is you mean by requirements. So these are the 4 different parts again, or 4 different sets of your architecture baseline. First is your requirement, second is your design, implementation, first is your So here your requirements indicates requirements from the user, design indicates how we are going to code them, and implementation indicates how we are going to implement or start developing your project. And this is your deployment. Deployment indicates the success of your project. And architecture design, it is going to finally focus on the functionality of your project. So that is all about your modern model related to your software approach. So that is all for this particular lecture. Let us meet in your next lecture. Thank you.